a rank 600 player versus a Red Bull Wallalol finalist. Well, top 16, not in the finals. Well, considering he's not in the finals, this would be easy then, right? Like, the top 600 has got this. There's no way he could possibly lose it, right? I mean, he's playing the Abbasids. Civ that really needs no introduction after that game we saw just the other day. How insanely powerful this Civ can be, especially on maps that allow for this kind of choke point funneling that can easily allow you to get your cheddar, to get your bank from the early trade wing. And I gotta say, Outside ticks the same box as we saw a certain French pass do just a few days ago when State manned this Civ. Whether he'll go for it or not, we'll have to see. But he's going to be on the left in the green. Meanwhile, Recon has got the Rus. And, well, the Rus have been altered in a cheesy fashion, in my opinion. The late game, actually, pretty respectable. Could be something that is to be feared, especially with the potential to go back to, like, mass siege. But the really spooky part about these guys is the addition of the militia, a change to the Kremlin that allows you to spawn 6 mad lads with bardishas to bardouchebag your opponent out of the game. And gotta say, I will refer to that strategy when it comes out in competitive as bardouching, especially on a map like this, because this map is kind of ridiculous. I tested the time it takes to run your units from one base to the other, and I actually believe it came out about 35, 40 seconds across the map, which leaves you over half the time to harass. We'll see if he goes for it, though. Considering Recon is opening with a Wooden Fortress, we might not be getting treated to a bardouching at all. This just might be something a little bit more standardized. He's even going to set up the hunting cabin afterwards. Interesting that he didn't go for that play, though. I mean, against the Abbasids, you know, maybe you're a little bit worried the fire armor makes it difficult to burn things down, but that's not your job, right? Your job is to harass, poke, prod. Also, going for this build and likely not going the Kremlin means you're giving up the militia, which do 6 damage, bonus damage to cav units. So they move at 1.5 movement speed. I feel like that would have been a good solution to the early trade play if that is what Tara Gangs has in mind. Well, we'll see. Given the House of Wisdom placement, I'm somewhat reluctant to commit to the idea this is 100% going to be a trade play. I think you could actually easily afford to set up your House of Wisdom back here if you were to go for trade, and you get a decent amount more out of doing so, even though it's a small distance. And also, keep in mind, because you've got the mining camp, you've got like the wooden lumber camp, you're going to place houses, you still be able to branch in to keep your Golden Age going. And by the way, the reason that's important early on is, sure, you know, he's not immediately going to have tier 1, but what he will have by being in the influence of the House of Wisdom is he'll have this fire armor, which is substantial when you think about the early pressure that can come out of things like Knights plus Spearmen into the potential militia. But let's not focus on the militia, because it looks like Recon is focusing on something different. Passive income, an interesting approach here. Now, Recon will be completely aware of how strong the Abbasid trade opener can be, or trade in general, and how playing slower can be a little bit risky. My thought process here is he's trying to see if the Rus can compete with passive gold generation instead of going for that kind of active trade generation that a lot of civs are right now. Because, folks, there is no denying that right now the pop is age of trade. That's what we're heading towards here, right? French are trading. Abbasids are trading. Mongols were already trading. Most people were already trying to get towards trade. And it feels like everything that's happened with this patch, the biggest takeaway is everything's been bolstered towards that. But weirdly enough, we're not seeing it at all in this game. We're going to be seeing the eco wing out of Taro. I feel like I've kind of conned people, right? I was building up to this trade, and then trade just doesn't happen. So apologies for that, but it's an understandable thought process to take, especially on maps like this. Eco Wing, a little bit more surprising, but we did talk about this in the patch notes video, where people were likely to be baited into the Eco Wing or the Culture Wing at the start of the test server. But I think as time goes on and the meta develops, you know, trade as it is, especially on maps like Altai, French Pass, anything that gives you a more defensible location, the trade opener makes a lot of sense to get you up to Castle Age quicker, where you'll be able to pick up one of these two that we mentioned before. But by going for the House of Wisdom Eco Build opener, he's going to get access to these huge discounts, as you can see, on all Eco buildings and houses. That means town centers get discounted by 25%. That means farms get discounted by 25%. Everything that you really want as the game goes on as a Abbasid player. And make no mistake about it, I do think that this is a little bit of a bait of an opening is like people kind of like just heat seeking towards this straight away will lead to probably more losses than wins. But on a map like Altai, it is defensible enough that you can get away with it, especially if you consider that Recon's opening is just as greedy as it can get. We've got quadruple hunting cabin already. How many scouts did he only went one scout? Really? You'd think he'd want like an additional scout to try and get a few extra deer carcasses out of the map, but no. This very much surprises me. Remember, this is the Roost. They do still get bonus gold for all the scalps they take of the innocent wildlife. He's fully walling himself in. I imagine he's going to be going... Yeah, he's already in the stone, so he's going for multi-TC. And Recon will know how strong the Abbasids can be in these type of races. So, to me, this feels more experimentation than a guaranteed thought of, I will win the rush towards green. But what he, in theory, could win is the late game, if he gets to it, right? If we're talking Imperial Age Plus, the Abbasids are a very strong civ there due to the Golden Age. Tier 3, right? You get the extra production speed, you just churn out units non-stop. But the Rus have received substantial buffs to the late game as well, right? Whether you're talking about the power of their rams and rams in general, if you're talking about the bombards essentially turning into giant sniper rifles that can snipe pretty much any infantry unit in one hit. There's a lot to kind of look forward to in that later phase now for the Rus. Let's see if that is the intent here. I mean, I can't imagine you just get up to Imperial for free. Given Tarragang's opening, it could be just your classic greedy Abbasid player that doesn't care. And not too long of a wait. Triple TC already. Wow. And of course, he has already got the fresh food stuff. So remember, he's got big discounts, which means this is affordable. I actually think the way forward for the Ultra Greed builds, by the way, is 3 town centers instead of 4. So... Whoa, Pigeon. Come on, we already knew this, right? Like, people get punished too much for that greed. No, I'm talking like the ultra length of greed. And the reason is that if you consider the discount difference with fresh foodstuffs being moved in the TC, you went from a 50% discount on your food cost to a 35% discount. That means you're paying 32 food each, right? So if you think about it, before you pay 100 food per 20 seconds with 4 TCs. Now with 3 TCs, you pay 96 food. So it kind of balances itself out. And the reason this is important is, like, sure, you could go find more food, but that can usually be difficult. And when you play this ultra greedy approach to the Abbasids, you don't have many defensive units early. So rushing out your base to try and get deer in the mid-map, get your hands on the berries all across the map, is going to leave you more exposed. So by going 3 TCs, I think you get a nice balance between transitioning from greed into military presence, which will be very important due to the fact you've got just so many villagers draining your safe resources at the beginning of the game. Well, speaking of those TCs, it is just going to be 2 for Recon. Now remember, he has got the passive income from the hunting cabins as well that are starting to pay for themselves, right? They've been up for like, what, 3 minutes? Maybe 4 in the case of 1 or 2 of them. And when they're all generating about 25 to 30 gold, I think it was. Yeah, I think the average here is 25. And that means he is going to be able to pay for them around about now. And anything past this is just going to be in the pocket perma. One of the annoying things of trying to do this strategy on Altai is in some ways it's safe because you're in a condensed location. It's very hard for people to raid in and burn them down early. But on the flip side, there's not many woodlines, right? Like, maybe he could drop 1 here. He might get like 20 on this 100 cab drop. 1 here would be gorgeous. But right now, you can see that Recon is playing just as greedy, at least on his opening, so he doesn't have military presence. But that is about to change. Well, we'll see if the Knights can do much. Looking at the format of the base right now, the berries on the backside really were a blessing for Taro. Would love to see Tarragangs actually just wall here near the relic, not near the gold vein. Because he doesn't need to do the gold vein. Like, he can just cut off the short route, and the only way then Recon gets round is if he dives past the TC or goes all the way back around the mountain. I think Recon is aware of that as well. Like, he's scouted the area, so you should have a feel for it. Racks are being built as well. Now, one benefit of having this kind of compact eco that's very greedy is, you know, you get good bang for buck out of the initial spears defending. But as we can see, Recon has already prepped the counter. He opened with the double archery range follow-up after the stables drop. So he won't have the solution when he arrives in the base. Now, that means that Tarragang's going to have a second layer to this. right now, it seems it's just going to be the racks plus the blacksmiths. This is a very, very greedy opening from Taro. It seems their intent is just to rush Castle Age here. And you can see that in the resources as well. So they are really flirting a fine line here. But the brilliant thing is these type of strategies tend to pay off in regards to you reaching the age. Because if your opponent's going greedy opening as well, with the double TC and the 100 cameras like Recon did, his army isn't actually that big, right? So, like, think about this. Taragangs is probably going to trigger the tech up in the next 30 seconds. Recon's going to have maybe 15, 16, possibly 17 military pop cap. What do you do with that, right? Unless you suddenly rush rams, you're not going to have a way of doing any damage to this compact TC format. And because of the berry patch on the backside and the woodline spawn the way they did, Taragangs actually has safe things to do with his villages in the meantime. You can see essentially his primary TC functions as a forward buffer point. And even if you push him off things like this deer, as we can see, Mary has many little lambs right now. So overall, although it's incredibly greedy from Taro, it's not helpless. He's also layering the racks in as well. So this is going to be a men-at-arms rush afterwards. You notice he actually went with the military wing. Interesting choice here. Big change to the military wing. We mentioned that actually this might be the one point in the builds where military wing comes out. Not really great in feudal age. Not great for the imp choice. But what it is great for at this point is, one, coming back to get access to the boot camp with the men-at-arms timing, which is really scary together. The other detail is now they added something to the military wing in that depending on when you choose to tech it up, as you see there, you spawn 3 units. Well, in some cases 3 units, some cases 2, but they're all free as in you pay nothing. If you do it in feudal, you only get 2 spearmen and archer. Do it in Castle Age and you get 2 camel riders. That is the value proposition. 3 hand cannoneers might sound great, but it's not. Like at the point in the game where you're getting it, it's kind of Lishrock. The camels aren't necessarily meant to take on the main army, though. They can essentially just be sent in to just poke and prod at the villages and try to bait some attention. But the more important detail is this combo. Even though Recon has an army that can maybe deal with 2 camels, on their own, of course, but they're not going to be on their own, the bigger detail is that when you get military wing in Castle Age, you unlock boot camp as you're unlocking men-at-arms. And if you ask any high-level player, they'll tell you the most impactful time in the game for men-at-arms is right at the beginning of Castle Age. Because it's very difficult to have the counter at that point. In this case, Recon can't have the counter. He doesn't have Castle Age. So he doesn't actually have any crossbow. Oi, push in though. Recon, he really is on the clock here. Double ram. He'll need more if he wants to get through this base quick enough. Remember, the Abbasids, they're reducing that torch damage coming through. So really, it's just the rams adding in. Each of these knights, you might think it's adding a substantial amount of damage in, but it's losing about, what, like 30% of it? Due to the +5 fire armor, and that's giving time. Time that Taragangs is using well here. You see, now you can just begin to poke and prod. I like this choice. Just moving a little bit. Harass a few units down. Remember, those camel riders, they get a lot of bonus damage here. Quick, they're just making mincemeat of the knights. But however, if you have to move away with the knights, the archers aren't going to last long either. And this commitment by Taragangs, although it looks premature, it should be good enough. The spearmen also do have phalanx, so double the amount of attack on whatever target they're looking for. The knights have already just been depleted. Considering the villagers are weirdly enough being sacrificed, you maybe question what the hell Taragangs is doing, but I'm telling you what he's doing right now. He's winning. Final round's going to be cleaned up. Primary TC can be saved. That's very important. If you have to repair this from scratch, it's an incredible amount of wood burn. I think it's something like 700, in fact. So, keeps it alive. We'll keep it past the threshold. And the men-at-arms spam comes out. Recon, this is a difficult point in the game. Look at his resources. He was getting ready to tech up, but now he has to reinvest everything into knights. It's the only unit that can actually counter these men-at-arms somewhat. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if Taragang soon gets the level 2 undermesh anyway. He might even just stop because these archers, I mean, they're doing no damage to the men-at-arms. They've already been reduced to the minimum that they can. Remember those camels, because they're still alive, these knights do even less damage. I mean, this just doesn't work. What makes it worse is Recon, he still hasn't walled himself. No, he still hasn't walled himself. Please tell me he knows. Please tell me he knows, right? Okay. Oh, thank God. That would have been pure pain, actually. So this at least buys him a little bit of time. Now remember, these fortified palisades did get nerfed down from 3k health to 2.5. The men-at-arms won't be able to get through straight away, but the way I always describe men-at-arms like this is you have to think of it like a flowing river. And this wall that you've just placed, you know, it's a temporary dam. But what that's going to do, that's going to cause water pressure to build up. Eventually, the dam will be destroyed. The water will flood through, and it will come through stronger than it would have before. That is in Recon's future right now. The problem he has is he still hasn't completed the tech up right. He just got the resources to go Castle Age, but the moment he gets there, he needs to get enough crossbows. Yes, you are correct. That destroyed value is insane. That's the impact of early Knights, though. Like, early Knights up against the Abbasids is a bold move, Con. And this time, it did not pay off for Recon. I mean, is there another way he could have built that early comp? I don't necessarily think so. I think he just tried to play a game of greed, and crazily enough, he went in for a much earlier timing to try and end the game. He didn't set himself up for Castle Age, and this is why, by the way. I think his paranoia was around the cost of farms. Because on the other side, funnily enough, the Abbasid player, because he just got out of the base, he plays pocket ecos instead of going farms. But even when he goes farms, remember, he's now got a 25% discount because he went for the eco win. It's a problematic detail. I mean, to put that in kind of comparative terms here, it means that actually Recon's 20% extra wood he gets is kind of irrelevant. Like, he is taking a finite resource and getting more of it, but in terms of the expenditure logic, right, if my villagers gather this rate, the Abbasids actually come out 5% ahead. In fact, they come out even higher than that because remember, the Golden Age gives a 15% buffer rate that the Roosts just don't have. So overall, like, economically, you're always going to be behind, which is why Recon felt pressured to go for that early timing. Sadly for him, yeah, he needed to be maybe a minute quicker. And I wonder if that would have been even feasible. Possibly if you don't build as many hunting cabins, there's a way you can do that. Maybe even if you play out onto something like the boar, you can make that work. I mean, the boars were definitely viable, definitely accessible, and yeah, he would have got maximum value hunting cabins if he played that area as well. But now a problematic situation for him. It looks like Taragangs has actually let up off the pressure, so Recon will get time to build a new army. Keep in mind that military pop cap is deceitful. Half of his military force is archers. You know, although the spearmen that you can counter on the other side, ultimately it's not going to do much for him. And hello, BMF Twitch. Appreciate you, bud. Welcome back to the swarm. You see that giant bird? You see that old man being attacked? Oh, funnily enough, although Recon looks young, he's actually an old man. Taragangs is the giant bird waiting to assault. There's the old man right now. So, no relics for poor little Recon, past the one he already gathered at home. The push is coming in. Rams on the move. Knights are trying to wrap around. Now, if they can get on the Mangonel, they can control the narrative in this fight, but the Spearmen aren't going to make it easy. Men at arms to the center. Rams as well. Now, remember, these Rams, they do bonus damage up against the walls. So, quick access to the army of the Abbasids, and even the villager commitment. 26 villagers here. Stone being gathered. He's going to have enough for a keep in the next 30 seconds. But where will he be able to drop it is the real question mark here. A lot of farms will block him out, so we need to make room for it. Meantime, villagers will commit their torches. Men at arms, just keep pushing back those archers. Knights wrap around, good snipe, Recon. Just about gets it done. But the keep is now going to be in place. No way to stop that from occurring. Just too many troops flooding in here. And you notice, even though this is Recon defensive, he's unable to gain the military pop cap lead. And with the second wave of men-at-arms coming over the top, even these archers are going to be depleted. I'm wondering what the hell the solution is here. Recon, I mean, he doesn't have crossbows, right? He's only now producing them. Taragangs has almost 30 men-at-arms. And the villagers, not only being committed to building keeps up, they are part of the siege force right now. Honestly, I think Taragangs has just done him in. Well, on the backside, will be a whiff. It'll buy a little bit of time, but there's just too much exposed here. I mean, this game is pretty much short. Recon, maybe if he can get up to 12, 14 crossbows, can find a way to slow this down, but he's still lost a substantial part of his base. Finally, the death cries of the Abbasids is what we really came to hear, but I don't think we'll be hearing that noise too much more in this game. Love this play out of Taragangs, man. The cheap, efficient villages as a siege force. The availability of them to build aggressive castles, also to repair any siege that gets injured. What a read. What an understanding of the game to realize his economy is just so much better that he can afford to send 20, 30 villagers to the front line, and he will still have the economical lead. It's just absurd to watch. 3 TCs. Freshfield stuff's not as strong as it was, but still making an efficient usage. Recon, not many places left to go and hide, mind you. I mean, he's having to build in the trebuchets, not out of choice, out of necessity due to this castle. Taragangs. Oh, what's that? My villagers died. Well, don't worry. I've still got the eco lead. Let me just send in a few more. I don't know what they're doing here right now, but they want to participate. This is mass conscription to the front line. Some people open up Age of Empires 4 to play an RTS. Recon right now is playing a zombie survival game. However, these zombies move fast, wear a lot of armor, and tend to bite very hard. Okay, not these zombies, these ones. Things have slowed down a little bit. Remember, Taragangs has yet to make the full farm transition, but that's now underway. It's very easy for him to do as well, remember. Only 56 wood per farm. Keep in mind, he actually torched a decent amount of farms and buildings alongside it, so like the wood differential is going to be even bigger. I talked about the fact that Recon at least has this finite resource that lasts 20% longer. Right, he's getting 20% extra rather out of it compared to the Abbasids, but that 20% has just kind of already been burnt, literally, in this game, with the torches of all those peasants. So crossbow count. We said he needed 12, 15 to feel somewhat comfortable with holding. He's got that. However, it doesn't mean that Recon has all the answers. His Taragang still has phenomenal control across the map. Would love to have seen him follow this play up with a monastery drop and just a few imams to pick up these relics. Also would have allowed him to lock in the sacred sites, extra gold trickle, plus a pressure point to force Recon out of his base. I think that's what Taro is missing here. Like, he played this really well, but he hasn't put Recon in a situation where he has to rush out of his base, which I think would have ended the game by now. Instead, Recon, maybe, miraculously is getting an opportunity to recover. Now, reminders, folks. Recon, like top 30 player on the leaderboards, I believe it is, at the time of recording. Usually up there, always. On the other side, Taragangs ranked 600 on the live server, not the test server, so they're real life ranks. I say real life, they're real AOE4 ranks. And yet, look where we are. You want to know what a ranked 600 player gets you? This is what a ranked 600 player gets you. What are they even doing? I think he needs more stone. If he actually gathers this stone up, he could go for... Oh, he'd be just shy of the double keep drop. Instead, he's going for the end. Mass conscription. The final wave has arrived. Oh my good lord. 66 villagers in. None will come home. They'll make their new home here. Recon. Oh my god, the castle. I actually think they kill it. I think they're going to torch it quicker than he can build it. I can't believe this is working. And look, Recon has to try and defend the keep build, so he's not killing the army. He's dying to it. Castle will be complete, but barely. Recon, he felt like maybe he'd done enough to survive, to sustain. But then Taragangs selected every unit on the map and sent it to Recon's base. What is this? There's another wave! Taragangs has no economy at home other than, like, I don't know, Barry, Bob, and Johnny, who all have a busted leg so they couldn't run that far. I can't believe what we just done to Recon. I just wanna like lay out that this was not what I was looking for when I clicked on Abbasid versus Rus on Altai. Like, was expecting a Kremlin, didn't get it. Was expecting trade, didn't get it. Was not expecting the villagers to end the game, but they did it. I can't